The practice and compassion of the living Buddha. Those of us who practice Buddhism must focus on the practice of the Dharma if we hope to receive the benefits of the Dharma. There are many kinds of practices, such as reciting sutras, worshipping sutras, reciting mantras, sitting in meditation, taking precepts, chanting Buddha's name, and worshipping Buddha. No matter which one you specialize in, they are all called practices. With these practices, you can receive the benefits. The living Buddha, who is not an exception, also has his specific practices naturally. During the time that I lived with him, I watched his movements very carefully. What is his practice? I think he first practiced Pure Land, plus chant, dhyana, meditation, as additional practice. Then he attained enlightenment through the dual practice of chant and Pure Land. However, he also seemed to have a great understanding of the tantric mantra reciting. I have heard fellow practitioners say that the living Buddha was inspired by the recitation of the Great Compassion Mantra, which has a lot of credibility. If one is disciplined, strictly observes the precepts and recites the tantric mantra well, he may have many inspiring experiences. The reason why the living Buddha is able to cure people of their chronic ailment and relieve their sufferings is that he might have been benefited from reciting the mantra. It's said that during the Qing dynasty, in my hometown at Baotong Temple in Wuchang, Hubei province, there was a person named monk who touches the brain. No matter it's a major or minor diseases, as long as he touches them with his hands, the patients will be cured shortly. The daughter of the governor of Hubei, Duan, was also cured of her madness by his hands. The situation is like this: Duan's second young daughter, because of the madness, crying and laughing unpredictably, did not wear clothes all day long. They invited many doctors to treat her disease, but all to no avail. They had no choice but to confine her to the empty room in the backyard garden of the courthouse for more than a year. Later, someone introduced that there was a monk who touches the brain in Baotong Temple, and he was good at curing strange diseases. Why not invite him to try? Duan half believed it, and invited the monk to the court. The monk asked where the patient was. It said she was in the room in the garden. The monk asked the magistrate to set up a joss-stick table in the garden. He was standing in front of the joss-stick table and just chanting a mantra. When the crazy lady saw a monk in the garden, she jumped out of the window and dashed at him. The monk felt that someone was pouncing on him. He backhanded a slap and hit the crazy lady right on the head. The lady received a slap, spit out a mouthful of sputum. When seeing that she was not dressed, she ran back to her room in shame, and her crazy disease was cured. Because that monk healed diseases without prescribing medicine, only by touching the head with his hands. Then the patients were cured. So people call him monk who touches the brain. Why do the monk's hands have this amazing power? Legend has it that there is a pagoda in the temple. Every day, he went to the pagoda to practice the Dharma, touching the masonry of the pagoda with one hand, closing his eyes, and silently reciting the Great Compassion Mantra while going around the pagoda. No matter how the weather was, cold or hot, windy or rainy, he persisted the practice uninterrupted every day. He had been doing this for more than 10 years and finally had the inspiring response, which is why he had this magic ability. The living Buddha's healing is quite similar to the monk who touches the brain. As for my saying that the practice of the living Buddha is the dual practice of meditation and Pure Land, it is also from his daily actions and words that I have seen. He never speaks about sutras, nor does he talk about stories or classic articles. He walks, lives, sits, and sleeps with only one Buddha's name. When he is not chanting the Buddha's name, he sits still with his eyes closed. Moreover, he recites this Buddha's name with an accent, a rhythm, and a rhyme, which is not like an ordinary person mumbling the Buddha. To be clear, he is singing the Buddha. The tune he sings was neither like the Sanskrit nor like the tune used in the temple on the 1st and 15th days of the lunar month to worship before the Buddha. He sings, chant, Namo Amituofo. If you use the wooden fish and the chime together, it is knocking once the wooden fish and hitting twice the chimes, which are exactly 3 beats in each measure. He uses this method to lead the public to worship the Buddhas. Worship once and sing a phrase like this. If he is chanting with others, he does not use this tune, but only recites the 6 words Namo Amituofo, but the phrase he recites still has the tune of rising and falling. Suppose he sings the Buddha alone, that will be nagging, and there will be a big ending. Who chant Namo Amituofo as come world honor is the living Buddha. It can be said that his singing of Buddha has neither predecessors nor successors, and this is his unique Dharma door. His singing of the Buddha's hymn sounds great. The living Buddha's voice is as loud as a bell, and every word he sings has a melody. The sound is elegant, like the sound of flowing water, with an endless aftertaste. It makes you feel lighter and at ease in body and mind as you listen to it. I lived with the living Buddha for 2 months and learned the tune he sings. In the past, when I was traveling alone, sometimes I sang a sound or two, and I felt very flavorful. I think the living Buddha's singing of the Buddha is a kind of revelation. Those who chant Buddha need to practice meditation, and those who practice meditation need to chant Buddha. That exactly discloses the meaning of the phrase, there are both chant and pure land, and all the practitioners go. He does not preach the sutra or the dharma, but only uses the 8 words who chant Namo Amituofo to guide the masses, which is his compassionate wish. However, when those dharma masters who pay excessive attention to wording, and those sectarian veterans hear the phrase who chant Namo Amituofo, they consider it as heresy and strange. In fact, there is a very profound truth in this Buddhist hymn. In terms of thinking, the living Buddha's thoughts are pure. He teaches people to prevent evil, to do good deeds, to abstain from killing beings, to release captured creatures, to be vegetarian, and to chant the Buddha. His door style is only a few words: be truthfully mindful of the Buddha. Whenever the living Buddha sings and chants the Buddha's name, he always straightens his body and clasps hands together in reverence and devotion, never saying Amitabha Buddha in the mouth and casually looking around. Besides, he does not use beads to count how many he chants the Buddha. I have secretly counted many times, and each time there are exactly 108 sounds, not more than 1 phrase, not less than 1 phrase. Probably he used 10 fingers to silently count in his mind, which shows his ability to focus his mind. He hates it most when people gossip. When seeing people gossip, he takes out his carry-on treasure to force others to chant the Buddha with him, and does not care whether people like it or not, agree or disagree. He opened his voice and hummed, and people had to hum with him. One day, I smiled and talked to living Buddha. There are many Buddhist dharmas. Why do you only teach people to recite Amituofo, and why don't you teach other dharma? The answer he gave was interesting. People in the world now have a lot of vexations. They will miss it if I talk too much. They'll remember if I only teach them the phrase Amituofo. Then he said, don't take this phrase Amitabha Buddha lightly. It's not easy to recite it. If one can recite it, he can be ferried. I said, are you kidding me? Who can't recite the 4 words Amituofo? Even a 3-year-old can recite it. He grunted through his nose and said, many people who have piled lots of bad karma know Amituofo, but are unwilling to recite his name. Also, there are a bunch of people who want to recite it, but cannot. A few days later, a group of beggars came to the door. I remembered the words of the living Buddha. I would like to try. I said to the beggars, I will give 5 cents for each person who recites Amituofo. Among these people, only a female beggar and 2 children chanted happily, while the rest were silent. I asked them, don't you want money? They answered in unison, we are beggars. Of course, we want money. I also asked, since you want money, you can recite this Buddhist name. Some of them said, we will only say Madam, Miss, my Lord, do a good deed, give me some money, save my life, nothing else. Some of them said, I don't want to say this. I thought they considered the money was too little, so I added another 5 cents, but they still didn't say it. I added another 20 cents, 30 cents or even half a dollar to see if they would say it, but they were still reluctant to say this phrase Amituofo. The strangest thing is that 2 elderly beggars among them only opened their mouths wide, and their tongues made circles in their mouths, but could not utter a sound. It was only then that I believed that what the living Buddha said was true, and it is obvious that the living Buddha's compassionate wish is to teach people chanting Amituofo. Another matter is worth mentioning. Why does the living Buddha live in the Gold Mountain Temple for so long? This is also his wish. Since he became famous, though he has been on the road all year long, he has never forgotten to support the 2 monasteries of Gold Mountain and Kixia. Although the living Buddha himself neither wants money nor uses money, he always collects a large amount of merit from his lay disciples every year, including several tons of rice and several tons of cooking oil, for both the Gold Mountain and Kixia monasteries. The living Buddha takes great pains to accomplish this wish. He does not recruit directly to people, but indirectly to people. He first runs to the rice store and oil store to credit rice and oil, then asks people to send to the temple. The owners of the rice and oil stores know him as the Gold Mountain Living Buddha, and that he has many followers. Regardless of the amount, they give him credit with confidence that it will not fail. His lay disciples, both men and women, for the sake of their faith in him, pay his debts of rice and oil every time of their own accord. Usually, when people give him money, he just asks them to send the money to the rice store and oil store to settle the bill. The living Buddha's aspiration to support the 2 temples, Gold Mountain and Kixia, has persisted for decades, and his financial and material assistance has never been interrupted. Every winter, when Gold Mountain is dedicated to the chant's 7th-day session, no matter how far away he is, he definitely would rush back to the Gold Mountain. When he returns to the Gold Mountain, naturally his disciples follow him too, which virtually increases Gold Mountain's income. It was not until 1929. When the living Buddha went abroad to Yangon, he let go of this wish. It seems that the living Buddha's kindness and grace to these 2 monasteries is deep and significant.